Hi folks, Forris Jr. here with Rolling Tape. Today we're talking to two authors, John Bucher and Jeremy Casper. They wrote the book Masters of the Cinematic Universe, The Secret Code to Writing in the New World of Media. Now, let's roll tape.
This episode brought to you by Spoof Dance Film Festival. Make parody commercials and bring the funny.
Welcome to the show, John and Jeremy.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Oh, it's awesome to have you guys. This is episode number 1 of hopefully lots of these. So let's get right to it. We've got 10 minutes. Tell the audience and tell me about what the Masters of the Cinematic Universe is all about.
Well, Jeremy and I, have taught story and discussed story together for almost the last 10 years. And we noticed that throughout, the last 10 years, as new mediums for storytelling would arise, the same tried and true principles for telling a good story stayed the same. So what we became interested in is how do we take these principles of storytelling that we know work and apply them to the new rising mediums in new media that are available out there to folks today.
And I think that we also noticed something, a trend that was happening in a lot of film schools, and that was professors who teach students how to make feature films, and then they send them out into the world to make short films. And that's, even though a lot of the story tropes and features, they apply to short films, that's just not the best way to learn. And so one of the things we wanted to tackle in this book too is really taking a look at short form media and seeing how, even though all these story elements apply across the board, regardless of the running time of your art, there are some really specific, unique ways that you can apply it to the short form.
Can you talk about how the book is broken down and talk about, you have 20, 30 different short form that you talk about in the book. Could you kind of touch on some of those and then talk about how you get this formulatic outline of the book?
Yeah, we discussed 20 different types of short form content, everything from vines and vlogs to new interactive type videos. We even, touched very briefly for a second on Periscope, but we also look at the short form media that's been around for a long time, like the short film, the music video, the PSA. And what we did is we actually broke down into elements, things that needed to be in each types of these medias. So for example, Jeremy and I both have a background in communications even before we were involved in filmmaking. And we learned in communication theory that there's 3 reasons why you try and communicate to someone, or 3 different ways you communicate with someone, either using pathos, logos, or ethos. And Jeremy, did you want to talk a little bit about why those are important?
Yeah, I think that those 3 elements are so crucial in communication. The pathos dealing with the emotionality of a story, the logos dealing with the logic, the reasoning behind a story, and all these different elements kind of working in tandem with each other, and how, depending on the genre that you're working in or the short form that you're working in, one particular story might require more ethos, one might require more pathos or logos. And so looking at how these different things are balanced in different forms of communication is not only crucial in public speaking, but really seeing how that also works in visual communication as well.
I would also say, that we don't believe that there are formulas to storytelling, but we do believe there are forms. So just like as those who study music know, there are certain notes that can go together to make a chord, and certain notes that do not go together to make a chord. And so what we're trying to communicate throughout the book is this idea of, if you play these certain notes together, it will strike a resonant chord in the heart and mind of the audience. We're not trying to say every song needs to begin with a G chord and then go to a C chord. We're not trying to say that at all. What we are trying to say is, if you are trying to learn to become a musician, here are how you play these certain notes in a way that strikes well with the ears of the audience.
And the pathos, ethos, and logos too. That's three of about 30 different elements of storytelling that we've identified, and these are just the basic ones that we see over and over again. Looking for the trends in storytelling, and what we then do is we go through each chapter and not just look at those three things, but all these different things, how they work in concert with each other, and how you have to use these in varying degrees. It's like the ingredients of your story. How does it work in a PSA is going to be different than how it works, say, for example, in a short documentary or a short narrative.
How did you guys get together and come up with all of this? Talk about the beginnings of this book. And I don't know if it's the beginnings of your friendship, but when you guys said, hey, let's get together and write this book and identify these things. I want to hear that process a little bit.
Well, first of all, we can't stand each other. So that's just kidding.
I can tell.
We were brought together by the story gods, and put on this planet to spread their gospel. No, Jeremy and I have both taught together at the Los Angeles Film Studies Center for, again, almost 10 years now, and he and I co-teach courses on narrative storytelling and how to create films within the Hollywood system. And he and I both are writers and directors here in Hollywood. We try and take what we have learned out in the industry and what we continue to learn and bring that into the classroom. So a lot of what we're talking about, in the book are not just things that Jeremy and I sat down in a dark room and came up with. They are things that we've learned working out in the industry and then taking those things into a workshop setting in the classroom, working with real people and students. And honestly, so much of this book is a result of the last 10 years of he and I workshopping pitches that people give us for stories every week for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think we're over 2,000, at least 2,000 plus different short films, different forms of short form medium that we've workshopped. I think a big motivation for me too was working with these students and just seeing beginning writers making the same exact identical mistakes over and over and over again. And once you begin to learn story, these mistakes seem really obvious. But when you first begin writing, they're pitfalls that you just can't see. So John and I really wanted to sit down and say, hey, let's talk about these problems that every writer seems to have, and let's address them.
We should also mention, Jeremy and I have been fortunate enough to get to go and teach these ideas around the world. Between the two of us, we have taught storytelling on every inhabited continent in the world. We haven't made it to Antarctica yet, but
we're going to.
We're going to make it there too. But we have not just discovered these things as a result of working with American audiences or Midwestern audiences, but these are as a result of things that we've discovered working with storytellers around the globe.
You have a couple other books too, I believe. If you could talk about those books, where people can get them, how people can get a hold of you, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, fortunately, this is our first book with Michael Wiese Productions, Master of the Cinematic Universe. So first of all, please go out and pick that up at Barnes & Noble or MWP.com or even Amazon.com. You can also buy our first book, The Inside Out Story, which we discuss short films in particular in a lot of depth. You can pick up that book at Amazon.com. Jeremy and I have a site together where we do all sorts of breaking apart stories. We have a podcast on that site, and that's at theinsideoutstory.com. You can find out where we're speaking, what we're up to. We're doing a lot of speaking this year. We're speaking in Las Vegas at NAB and the Broadcast Education Association's annual event, the University Film and Video Association's annual event. And so if you're on the West Coast at all, we're going to be out and about speaking about story quite a bit. So come and say hello.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for Filmmakers below. That way you'll get alerts and you'll know when all the new videos are posted. And we'd love it if you'd like it below or comment below. We want to thank you for watching this episode of Rolling Tape.